Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may we be upstanding for His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the President of the Republic of Southern Sudan, General Salva Kiir, His Excellency Josiah, Republic of Fiji, and Dr. Mayen, Republic of Yemen. Let's appreciate them with a lot of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as they take their position kindly. Welcome, Your Excellencies. A more heartier clap for their excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. With your permission, Your Excellency, may we have our seats. Thank you so much. Let's applaud them. Your Excellency Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, Your Excellency General Salva Kiir, President of the Republic of South Sudan, Your Excellency Josiah Bainimarama, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Fiji, Your Excellency Dr. Mayen Abdi Al-Makrik, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Yemen, the President of the United Habitat Assembly, Madam Martha, the Executive Director, UN Habitat, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, allow me to invite Her Excellency, the President of the UN Habitat, to make a welcome remark.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Distinguished President Uhuru Kenyatta, Distinguished President Salva Kiir Mayardit of South Sudan, Prime Minister Josiah Bainimarama, Madam Maimouna Mofti Sharif, Executive Director of UN Habitat, Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, I am honored to welcome you to the high-level segment of this first UN Habitat Assembly. Our future will be predominantly urban, affirmed the famous report from the Brundtland Commission more than 30 years ago. Well, we now are already in this future. Some of the opportunities it mentioned have already materialized, but many of the challenges that we are cautioned about have seriously exacerbated right now. 30 years may appear to be a short span of time, but our ideas, practices, modes of production and consumption, demographic structures, as well as education and health conditions have positively changed. We do live today in a better world than 3 decades ago. Nonetheless, serious threats have emerged and could delay the progress achieved if we keep neglecting a wide range of concerns, from the way cities are conceived and planned to the protection of our environment, the imminence of climate change, and increasing social and economic inequalities. We must better. We must acknowledge that we live in a culture of short-term economic benefit, where unrestrained consumption and production practices have compromised the sustainability of the entire planet. Some worst scenarios are likely to come true, but also some of our dreams can give us a chance and guide us to a brighter future. The adoption of bold, new global agendas in the last decade has provided us with a vision for the people, the planet, and long-term prosperity. The endorsement of a new urban agenda by the international community as Habitat 3 laid out how our cities should be planned and managed to achieve sustainable development. This new agenda is about hope, guidance, and inspiration. It is our task from all of us to follow the correct path. In these years, the world has recognized the importance of space and territory and the integrative role they play. Cities can drive human progress, innovation, creativity, and greater societal advance and freedoms. There is an emerging consensus that urbanization is beneficial and can serve as a source of overall prosperity. However, we must be wary of the challenges such as increasing levels of inequality, exclusion, and marginalization. That is why we require a clear vision, strategic planning, effective institutional coordination, accountability, transparency, and above all, innovation is an essential ingredient to foster prosperous, inclusive cities. From technology to institutions, organizations, and modes of operation, to information and knowledge, to forms of participation and engagement, innovation unleashes the undeveloped potential and maximizes existing opportunities. Innovation, which is the matter of this first assembly, can come from a creative worker, a community leader, a business person, an artist, a public servant, or a scientist. It can solve problems, anticipate challenges, create new product and processes, and harness existing and emerging prospects. Successful cities in a globalized world are those that have been able to integrate innovation and nurture creativity into development sustainable agenda. But innovation should not remain in the realm of one sector, group, or specific area. We need to go to scale. The new urban agenda reminds us that it is possible to achieve a revolution of a small and big day-to-day transformation in our neighborhoods, communities, and cities. This requires adequate monitoring tools as UN Cities Prosperity Initiative and methodologies and approaches to design and implement integral transformative urban operations. The UN should take advantage of the momentum of their reform to innovate with a view to support countries in accelerating the implementation of the new urban agenda and the SDGs. But more importantly, we need to bring a global agenda closer to the citizens and engage with local stakeholders. Experience shows that much of the creativity and innovation occurs at the very local level, through everyday experiences and encounters. The importance and relevance of neighborhood context cannot be understood in the development of innovative ideas and relations. We need to think local at first step to get us closer to achieve our dreams and visions of a sustainable society. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, our First President, Your Excellency. With your gracious permission, allow me to invite the Executive Director, United Nations Human Settlement Program, UN Habitat, and Acting Director General, United Nations Office in Nairobi, to do the introduction of the theme of the Assembly. Welcome, Madam.
Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the report HSP/HA/1/6 explores the theme of the first session of the UN Habitat Assembly of Innovation for Better Quality of Life in Cities and Communities, with the sub-theme, Accelerated Implementation of the New Urban Agenda towards Achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. The report presents basic facts and figures on innovation approaches to sustainable urban development and looks at promising practices with regards to innovation for sustainable cities and communities. Innovations as an institutional enabler and opportunities for expanding innovation in the work of UN Habitat. Finally, it proposes key issues for discussion today. Two questions that you may probably ask are, what is innovation in the context of the work of UN Habitat? And why do we care so much about it? And that we have made innovation as the central theme of our first UN Habitat Assembly. Innovations in the context of sustainable urban development is defined as the activities and processes of creating and implementing new knowledge and solutions to improve living conditions for all in cities and communities. Cities are the physical manifestation of history and culture, and incubators of innovation, industry, technology, entrepreneurship, and creativity. They drive national economies by creating prosperity, enhancing social development, and providing employment, but they can also breeding grounds of poverty, exclusion, and environmental degradation. Consequently, if the argument that the battle of achieving the sustainable development goals will be won or lost in cities is to be held true, cities will have to continue to drive innovation in the groundbreaking ways to achieve a lasting impact in communities and to ensure that no one is left behind as envisaged in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Excellencies, in introducing the theme of the first assembly, allow me to share one important message and invite you to reflect on 5 key questions. My message is about UN Habitat's unwavering commitment to innovate in everything we do, including the ways we partner. As I have mentioned on Monday and Tuesday, UN Habitat is repositioning as a major global entity, a center of excellence and innovation, as the thought leader and go-to agency that set the global discourse and agenda on sustainable urban development. Our ambitions is to generate innovative, specialized, and cutting-edge knowledge. We will use spatial, economic, social, and environmental data to generate knowledge that will influence sustainable urban development policies and strategies at the national level and also at the local levels. Our approaches are based in years of experience, which have shown the prosperity and the sustainable transformation of cities and regions are driven by the ability of decision makers to understand and use data to guide policies and strategies. The investment of UN Habitats in innovative knowledge generation and management methodologies is grounded in the understanding that lasting impact in the life of peoples around the world can be achieved through the uptake by countries and cities of state-of-the-art norms, standards, guidelines in the area of sustainable urban development in response to the 2030 Agenda promise of leaving no one, no place behind. Innovations and contextual approaches that take into account local circumstances are fundamental to the interventions of UN Habitat. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the prosperity of cities and regions is not an accident. It comes from a clear vision and planning, leadership, effective institutional coordination, adequate implementation, and the measurement of results, as well as sustainable use of innovative and smart solutions. To effectively use innovation to improve quality of life in cities and communities and accelerate implementation of the new urban agenda, and the sustainable development goals. A number of issues need to be considered at the global, national, and local level. For this reason, as we start this high-level strategic dialogue on the theme of the Assembly, I would like us to reflect on the following 5 questions. Question number 1, how can cities promote smart urban technologies that can handle the major system as cities requires? Water, transport, security, solid waste, green buildings, and clean energy to improve quality of life for all. What are the national requirements for countries to create an environment that encourages innovative solutions to issues of spatial inequality and poverty, prosperity of cities and regions, climate action, and crisis of urban setting? The third question, how should national institutions be reinforced so that they are better able to integrate new knowledge and solutions into the established systems in the community they serve? The fourth question, what could be the role of UN Habitat in engaging with actors in the smart cities field to ensure that the smart city vision becomes more inclusive towards a city vision that is compact, connected, and sustainable in also some livable cities? Question number 5, the last question, what role could UN Habitat play in assessing and advising on the innovation capacity of cities around the world? Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am looking forward to this fruitful and action-oriented debate. Thank you very much for your attention. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, UN Under-Secretary General and Executive Director of UN Habitat. Now, please allow me to invite to the stage to conduct the moderation of the high-level interactive strategic dialogue, a media personality internationally, who is also a driver of African and development conversations. Please welcome Ms. Julie Gishuru.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing? We're doing good. Are we ready to talk? As they set up, and if it could just be on this side, please. Thank you very much. As they set up, let me just set the context for our discussion this morning. We want to understand the needs, even as we look at innovation and how to best ensure that we are using innovative solutions for our challenges. We want to highlight best practices. We're looking into building environments for stronger, more effective partnership. We want to recognize the knowledge, the importance of knowledge, and how to ensure that we are working with local content, building skills, and much more. We want statements of political commitment and calls to action. That's what we hope to achieve in our panel session this morning. Thank you. Your Excellencies, it's a pleasure to be here with you all and to go straight into this conversation. I will start with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Kenya, of course, has set its Big Four agenda, and affordable housing is one of the 4. Maybe as we look at innovation and the importance of being able to build innovation into our systems, one of the things we heard at the opening is we must do better, we must do more. We've heard that we will not succeed by chance, it has to be by design. What do you see in terms of plugging innovation into the Big Four? How can it work for us? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Julie. Let me begin by saying it's a pleasure to join my colleagues in this panel as we discuss an issue that is going to be critical to the future of virtually every nation on the globe. For us in Kenya, the provision of affordable housing is a right that is enshrined in our current 2010 Constitution. A right that is also in our SDG 11, that we have all sanctioned and approved. But ultimately, it's a right, especially in a growing, urbanized world, that is going to be a massive challenge for many of us, especially in the developing world, to achieve. That said, it is therefore important for us to look at alternative, new and innovative ways of actually achieving this objective. The traditional manner in which we have focused and moved on with shelter is not able to keep pace with a growing demand of a growing young population. So we ourselves are keenly focused on looking at how we can change the manner in which we provide this housing. And this goes all the way from the supply of materials to the type of houses that we build, to where we build, to how green can we make this housing, but also to new and innovative ways of financing housing. How can we make housing more affordable and available? How can we attract, because we also recognize that governments alone are not in a position to provide all the number of units that are required by our population? How can we find new and innovative ways of involving the private sector to support us in this development? So these are some of the things that we're currently looking at. And our target right now is to see if we can provide 500,000 new units, which for Kenya is going to be a major milestone, because our demand right now is almost 200,000 units a year, and we have a huge and massive backlog. That we can't do without partnering, like I said, with private sector, without finding new and innovative ways of reducing costs of construction, how to supply materials, how to engage financiers in terms of giving longer-term mortgages that people can afford. So these are some of the challenges that are there, and like I'm saying, we're not going to be able to do it if we focus ourselves on the traditional methods. We need to look into the future, the use of technology, in order to help us achieve the objective of providing our people with affordable housing.
Thank you for that, and we'll come back to private sector in a short while. President Kiir, let me come to you now and your perspective from South Sudan. Your country is, of course, the youngest state in the world, and you are experiencing urbanization at what I would describe as unprecedented levels. It is happening, it's happening very fast. Of course, there are also challenges, and in your own environment, of course, conflict is one of those. The question, therefore, is how do we focus on urbanization, on delivering the sustainable development goals, and what support do you need in order to implement the new urban agenda in South Sudan? What's your message to stakeholders here, please, sir?
Well, thank you very much, and I'm happy to be with you in this gathering. As you have correctly said that South Sudan is the youngest nation in the world, we are in need of many things. Everything that you can mention. There are so many challenges that there is a conflict as we speak, and we have just signed a peace agreement, a revitalized peace agreement, and this peace agreement needs to be implemented. And if it is implemented, it will pave the way for all the needs of the people of South Sudan to be required. Because when we talk about housing, there is no housing in South Sudan. But the Minister of Land and Housing is ready to work with any other partners to afford the population to get housing. The second thing is that all the infrastructure in the country is not there. Because South Sudan, when people talk about independence, those who were getting independence from reasonable people found some infrastructure. In South Sudan, we started from the scratch. There was nothing. And so when you talk about infrastructure, there is nothing in South Sudan. This is a demand that we must have put the infrastructure in place. And we cannot do it alone without partners. We also have this, if this habitat is now established in South Sudan, the urbanization of the towns and the people themselves can be a project that can employ the youth. That youth, we have, the youngest population in our country are the majority, and they are unemployed. If we get such an opportunity, this is where the youth will fit in and they will benefit from being employed and from the infrastructure itself. I believe that if the international community wants to help the youngest member of the community, it is South Sudan where they should concentrate on. And with the development, nobody will think about the war. War can be brought in because of uneven development. When there is no development, there are no jobs. And when there are no jobs, the youth will do nothing but to think of what to engage themselves in, right, which is war. And I believe if you would want to help South Sudan, this is where you come in.
Thank you. Thank you. The importance of development also for peace and stability. And the challenge is immense, but perhaps this is also an incredible opportunity to build well-planned cities in an environment where we're told there is simply no infrastructure right now. Perhaps we should look at this as a huge opportunity. Prime Minister Bainimarama, let me come to you next and the Fiji perspective on this. And I had the pleasure to listen to you yesterday at the lunch for participatory slum upgrading, the project that UN Habitat runs with ACP. And you said it's not just about housing and roads. It's also about much more. It's about culture change. It's about mindset change. And I do believe that innovation is an intersection between thought and creativity and action. I want you to share with us how Fiji is incorporating innovation in its solutions and your suggestions in moving forward. Please, sir.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for that. I made a statement yesterday with regards to our informal settlements and in relation to the effects of climate change. But I've made the long journey here to Nairobi because I'm taking every opportunity possible to stress the urgency of this climate crisis to the world and to call loudly and relentlessly for concerted and ambitious global action to address the unprecedented scale of this threat. I was fortunate yesterday to be shown a housing project that is one of His Excellency's, the President's agenda to build 500,000 homes in 5 years. I was fortunate to see that, and I expect that at the first ever UN Habitat Assembly, we will hear some remarkable new solutions. that nations can implement to shield their citizens from the ravages of our changing climate. In Fiji, like many other vulnerable nations, we're innovating every day to protect our people and our progress from climate-related crisis. Because it's, if we don't contain this global warming, it'll be a catastrophe. It's a world catastrophe. So it's already, people say it's already 1 degree, and we need to contain it at least 1.5, not moving to 2 degrees. But we are fortunate this morning that we have national leaders here. The Excellencies, the Presidents, because more than anything else, we need political will for this, for the change in direction. Without political will, without the will of the national leaders, we will not be able to contain this global warming that we've been talking about, and it'll turn into a catastrophe. But we're equally proud at home at what we're doing. As you know, we've finished our term as presidents of COP23, but we are still in the fight, because we need everyone to be in this fight, in this global war against climate change. But we're equally proud of what we're doing at home to walk the talk, so to speak, in setting an example, and the rest of the world can follow. As I mentioned in my introductory remarks yesterday, Fiji is one of the 2 countries in the world, alongside the Marshall Islands, to take concrete steps to the path of raising the ambition of national determined contribution, the NDCs, which is very important. Obviously, Fiji, like the Marshall Islands and the small island nation states in the Pacific, we are not major carbon emitters. But we want to show the world that we can do it, and so can other nations. If we and the Marshall Islands can do that, I'm sure the rest of the world can follow and commit themselves to this. The majority priority for Fiji, of course, is adaptation. The arrival of Cyclone Winston, as I mentioned yesterday in my speech, the strongest cyclone ever to make landfall in the southern hemisphere, exposed deep vulnerabilities across our economy, bringing a total damage bill of about $1.4 billion. That's 1/3 of our GDP. But since that time, we've mainstreamed climate change into all of our national decision-making. Following the launch of our 5-year and 20-year National Development Plan in 2017, the Fijian government has since launched the National Adaptation Plan, the Climate Vulnerability Assessment, and the planned relocation guidelines to guide our climate adaptation planning. To help fund our efforts to build resilience across our economy, we've instituted an Environment and Climate Adaptation Levy, what we call ECAL, to mobilize domestic finances towards climate adaptation and environmental conservation. ECAL funds are building more resilient schools. We're building them better after the catastrophe brought about by Winston. We're building more resilient schools and infrastructure, relocating communities, and of course, reducing our carbon footprint through the uptake of solar projects. Right. We're going even further to enhance community-level actions in response to climate change, in particular by allocating a percentage of ECAL proceeds into a climate change relocation trust fund to help crowd in bilateral and multilateral donor funding to relocate low-lying vulnerable coastal communities and, of course, our informal settlers and settlements. You will have heard that in Fiji we've created a green bond, a modest $50 million bond that was launched in October 2017 and listed, of course, on the London Stock Exchange. We were the first emerging country to launch a sovereign green bond and the third to do so at all, following, of course, Poland and France. Projects financed from the Fiji Green Bond will focus primarily on investments that build resilience against the impacts of climate change, including our informal settlers. including a community climate adaptation projects. Fiji will also use bond proceeds towards achieving our current NDC target, which is the 30% reduction in carbon dioxide emissions in the energy sector by 2030. Some of you may have heard that the Fijian government and UN Habitat have been successful in securing funding from the Adaptation Fund to implement a series of resilient projects in more than 15 Fijian urban informal settlements, most vulnerable to climate change. From housing to infrastructure to the natural environment to livelihoods, this project will involve women, young people, Fijians living with disabilities, and the elderly to build community-wide resilience to climate impacts.
Thank you.
Creating solutions we can implement on a nationwide scale in the years ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Can we give Fiji a round of applause, because that was a really comprehensive list of things. And what's most impressive, perhaps, is, number one, thank you for shining a light on the climate crisis. But number two, the ability to take a challenge and turn that around is very powerful, and to use innovation to do that is very powerful. Thank you for setting that example. I now come to the Yemen experience, and Prime Minister Abdul Malik Said, perhaps you can take us through the context in Yemen, and as we look at the question of how countries can create an environment that encourages innovation, what are you doing in that regard? Thank you.
سأتحدث عن ذلك باللغة العربية إذا كان بالإمكان وضع الترجمة.
I ask, please, that for the panelists, we get our translation devices. Thank you very much. As that is happening, Prime Minister, would you just give me a minute? I'm just going to tap into our two ladies, and I love that we have quite a few ladies on our panel, and one is indeed a president as well. We've heard the comments so far. Maybe you could just tap in to your thoughts as you've heard the president speak about the context in their respective countries, and I'll begin with you, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Well, what we are addressing a very important matter, which is we are at a multilateral institution right now. The UN Habitat has raised awareness on the importance of the local governance leadership. And right now, on the governance that we are building up at the UN, the local governments are taking the lead on some issues which are important for the international community. So this leadership has been shown as policies to get, for example, sustainable development in place, but also to reach development in urban communities, which sometimes are not really well taken into account by the federal governments. So as much as we are right now in a multilateral institution, which is composed by national states, it is very interesting how the leadership of mayors and subnational governors is really getting the lead on the decision-making on how communities can be better planned, well-planned, and happier. In the inauguration of the assembly was very smart to invite a mayor and governor who undertake the challenge of getting a happier community in his city and his state. And he was very inspiring. He inspired us about the importance of thinking on people and with people and building up with the community consensus, the policies that we are implementing for a better life, and also the investments will be guided by those citizens. So this is the heart and the core of the discussion right now, and it is very inspiring to hear presidents of countries talking about this matter with such a commitment and knowledge.
Thank you very much. Executive Director Maimuna, I'll come quickly to you as we need two more here on this side, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julie. Thank you very much, Excellencies, for the commitment to the sustainable development. I think that is, for example, that from the President, Excellencies Kenyatta mentioned about the affordable housings and finance. I think this is the very relevant to the theme of UN Habitat Assembly today, because we are talking about innovation, we are talking about partnership, we're talking about partnership not only with private sector, it's also with the different level of stakeholders. I think this is the opportunity for the excellencies and the audience to pick up these opportunities, as well as the President of the South Sudan, excellencies, you mentioned about the infrastructure is needed in South Sudan, and the needs of the housing and also the youth development. I think this is also very true. This is an opportunity for us because by 2050, 75% of the infrastructure was not built yet. I think this is also include data from South Sudan that is mentioned by the President just now. And 60% of this will be in private sector. And UN Habitat is in our strategic plan. We are also having the four domains, and one of it is in terms of the providing, reducing poverty and also providing infrastructure. I think I'm taking notes, then after this how we can work and collaborate together with South Sudan. And as far as Fiji, thank you very much, Excellencies, for your for the climate change champion. You know, that is in terms of the climate change adaptation that you take. But I think, as you mentioned about the collaboration with the UN Habitat, we are here more, and because we are also talking about climate change and towards the infrastructure, location and cities, and where the needs of the localization of the new urban agenda and the SDG involving local government, involving all sectors is very important. And I think you already seen the fruits in Fiji, our collaboration between Fijian government and also the UN Habitat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Maimuna. Thank you for your indulgence, Your Excellency. Please go ahead. Thank you very much.
عندما نتحدث عن التحديات التي تواجه تطبيق الأجندة الحضرية أو تجربتنا في اليمن، سأتحدث عن تحديات مضاعفة. التحديات التي تواجه المدن التي تشكل الآن نصف السكان يسكنون في المدن هي عن التلوث، التخلص من النفايات، تحسين مستوى الخدمات. لكن عندما نتحدث في دول تشهد نزاعات فنحن نتحدث عن تعقيدات أكبر بذلك بكثير. كيف نربط ذلك بالابتكارات، وكيف يمكن الابتكارات أن تساعد في تطبيق الأجندة الحضرية أو تحسين الخدمات في المدن؟ هذا محور سنتناوله بعد أن نعرض هذه التحديات. ما تشهده اليمن قريب لما تشهده دول في المنطقة منذ 10 سنوات، نتج عنه تدمير لعدد من المدن في العراق مثل موصل أو حلب أو غيرها من المدن الثانوية ونفس. وأيضا فيما بالنسبة لما حدث في اليمن، سأتحدث عن تجربة لنا كحكومة فيما يتعلق بعدد من المدن التي شهدت نزاعات مع الجماعات المتطرفة، والتحديات الخاصة بإفراغ هذه المدن من مقومات النشاط الاقتصادي، وهو التحدي الأكبر. كل مدينة تتأسس على عدد من العناصر التي تضمن الاقتصاد الخاص بهذه المدينة. إذا فقدناها فقدنا الجامعات، فقدنا مصانع، فقدنا كل النشاطات الاقتصادية. هذا يؤدي إلى موجات نزوح كبيرة داخلية إلى مدن لم تكن مهيئة. لدينا في اليمن الآن أكثر من 3 مليون نازح داخلي. مدينة صغيرة هامشية مثل مأرب كانت 70,000 نسمة، الآن 1,000,000 نسمة خلال عامين. هذا يشكل ضغط كبير لأنها لم تكن مهيئة لاستقبال هذا العدد من البشر. ما يحدث هو نمو عمراني بدون أي تخطيط اقتصادي، بدون أي فرص عمل، بدون أي مجالات حقيقية لكي نصفها بأنها مدينة ذات 1,000,000 نسمة. وهذا تحدي مضاعف على الحكومة في فترات النزاع. لكن كان هناك من هذه التحديات تبرز عناصر قوة أخرى، إنه كثير من الأكاديميين جرى ترتيب وضعهم في جامعة كبيرة نحن نعرف أن الجامعات في اليمن كانت تأخذ في متوسط 15 عام حتى تصبح جامعة، لكن بالاستفادة من هذه الكفاءات الداخلية التي نزحت تم ترتيب الوضع للجامعة بحيث أنها تكون شبه مكتملة خلال فترة بسيطة. أيضا الاستفادة من كثير من هذه الخبرات الداخلية. لدينا إشكالية أخرى تتعلق بضعف السلطات المركزية، وهي الأساس لدعم السلطات المحلية للقيام بتنمية حقيقية. لدينا إشكالية في احتكار مؤسسات الدولة للخدمات وضعف قدراتها التنافسية، وهذا الموضوع موجود في الاتصالات، موجود في الكهرباء، موجود في قطاع المياه والصرف الصحي. فكيف يمكن مواجهة هذه التحديات وإشراك القطاع الخاص في عدد منها؟ الحرب والتغيرات في اليمن أخرتنا بشكل كبير. بين عام 2000 إلى عام 2005 كنا في مجال الاتصالات، رغم نحن من الدول النامية، كنا في قطاع الاتصالات من الأفضل على مستوى المنطقة. لكن التباطؤ في عملية التجديد جعلنا نفقد جيل كامل من النمو في موضوع الاتصالات. عندما بدأنا في التفكير كيف يمكن لهذا القطاع أن يساعد في تنمية المدن بعد الحرب، في العاصمة المؤقتة عدن، في المكلا، في عدد من المدن، فكرنا في أن نذهب إلى المستوى الأخير، والآن أصبحت التكنولوجيا أقل كلفة. هذا الموضوع يرتبط بقطاعات كثيرة، من بينها النظام البنكي، ولا يمكن لأي قطاع خاص أن يستثمر دون قطاع بنكي واتصالات بشكل فعال، وأيضا الطاقة الكهربائية. هذه التحديات أوجدت لنا فرص مختلفة. الآن كان لدينا شبكة فايبر أوبتكس أو ألياف ضوئية حديثة، لكن الآن عندما توقفنا 8 سنوات تخلفنا كثيرا عن الركب، وبدأنا بالتفكير كيف نصل واير بطريقة كان فايبر تو هوم. كان من الأشياء الصعبة أن احنا نحققها في ظل هذه النزاع كبنى تحتية داخل المدن، ففكرنا بطرق أحدث تتيح الوصول الأسرع إلى المنازل، بحيث نستطيع أن نبني شبكات قادرة أن تبني اقتصاد حقيقي داخل هذه المدن. مقصود أن الابتكار والتكنولوجيا يساعد الآن على تخطي الكثير من المصاعب. ممكن أضرب مثال: استخدام الاي ترانزاكشنز أو التحويلات المالية في دول نامية مثل الصومال أو شهادة نزاعات أكثر بكثير من دول معينة. يمكن عندما نقيس ذلك بدول راسخة في حوكمة مؤسساتها نجد الموضوع غريب. في سويسرا أو في أوروبا مثلا معظم الناس لديهم حسابات بنكية، يستخدمون بطاقات الائتمان. الموضوع التحويلات المالية ليست اللي هي الإشكالية الكبيرة فيما يتعلق بهوية الشخص أو البايومتريكس أو غيرها من العناصر، لكن في دول معينة قد يكون الابتكارات في مجال الاتصالات والتكنولوجيا عامل مهم إن احنا نختصر بعض المسافات، وهذا الآن ما نحاول أن نعمله مع قطاع البنكي وقطاع الاستثمار حتى تنهض المدن اليمنية الآن مجددا وتستطيع أن تلحق بالركب.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for that. And I think, you've really opened up our eyes to the dual challenge presented by conflict. You told us cities are not built for conflict, and what happens in conflict is tragic. You see a movement of people, you also see depletion of the infrastructure. But the other challenge is then we have cities coming up overnight. So you have 500,000, 1, 2, 3 million people, and you've got to find a way to serve them. These are cities. And I think it's really critical that as we look at this question, that we don't forget what is happening in terms of the refugee crisis in the world. I think next, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to move to the question of the importance of private sector as a partner in driving innovation. So President Kenyatta, I come back to you now. Private sector is an interesting animal. It will move forward, but carefully. It doesn't like risk. It likes certainty, How do you work, or how are you proposing to work effectively, more effectively with private sector to ensure they participate as required in building the innovative systems that are required to transform our realities around housing, please?
Julie, like I said when we started, there is no way we will be able to achieve our objective of giving adequate, affordable housing to our people as governments alone. We have to partner, we have to join hands together with private sector. Again, as you have said, private sector is cautious. So the first thing we have to be able to do is to create an enabling environment for them to thrive. We need to be able to ensure that the right policies, that the right frameworks are in place to encourage a private sector. For example, in Kenya, just a few weeks ago, one of the big problems and challenges that we have is mortgages because of lack of long-term money. So working together with our development partners, we have established a mortgage refinance scheme that is aimed at encouraging banks to give longer term and therefore cheaper mortgages to our people. Ultimately, we're also now looking at working with private sector to develop infrastructure by providing them with the land, providing them with the necessary infrastructure, and the guarantees that they require. So we try to backstop, especially the low-income earners, by guaranteeing that we will uptake those properties, thereby they develop, we will uptake those properties, while at the same time creating and putting in place measures that enable, especially our low-income people, to be able to access some of these facilities. We're also looking at encouraging the development also of the inputs, cement, steel, new innovations. Where can we give necessary tax breaks so that we become attractive and they are able to increase and to expand their production of all these inputs that are required to go into the housing sector. So that again is another area that we must focus so that we are encouraging at the same time for them to invest and to those who have invested to expand their investment. Lastly, we're also saying that we also want our small and medium enterprises not to be left out. For example, in all the government schemes that we're now doing, we're saying that in order for us to guarantee and to say that we're participating with private sector, we want a certain portion of construction material to be reserved for these small and medium enterprises. For example, doors, windows, cupboards, and things that they can make. So they are also part and parcel of the process, because ultimately they will be the homeowners themselves. That is the group that we are targeting. So let them be involved. Let them create the income that will also enable them ultimately to also become homeowners. So that partnership between big industry, small and medium enterprise must also be encouraged so that we're not leaving anyone behind. So ultimately, private sector, government, within private sector, large and small, create a facilitating, enabling environment for them to become active partners in helping us achieve our objective of housing.
Thank you. Thank you for taking us through that. President Kiir, I come to you now, and of course you gave us the unique situation in South Sudan. And I've explained and we've talked about the fact that private sector, as President Kenyatta puts it very, very diplomatically, is cautious. It's very cautious. How do we encourage and perhaps provide de-risking mechanisms? What is it you would say to private sector to encourage them to really look at South Sudan as a viable opportunity for them to come in and to create change? Please, President Kiir.
Well, private sector in South Sudan is still very weak. Given the situation that they were in, there were no businesses in South Sudan. At the moment, very very few are trying to come up with the idea of how to build the private sector. In South Sudan, there were no banks. It is now the banks from Kenya that have established their branches in South Sudan. And they still need the capital. Otherwise, they have no money to give loans to the citizens that can start a small business. This is, on one side, it is a problem. The second is that the issue of land. And in South Sudan, we don't have a problem of land. We have land, but we have no people. And so the current land laws have given the citizens the right to own the land. And so by owning the land, even when the investors come, they have to go and negotiate with the landowners so that they get the land for any investment that they want to make. This is a problem that we are struggling with. We would want to expose our business people to other multi-billionaires people so that they can get loans. The only export that we have in South Sudan is oil, and that nobody can depend on it surely. It is when there are farmers that want to invest in South Sudan so that they produce whatever crops they want to produce. This is when the private sector will actually come up. Otherwise, private sector in South Sudan is still very, very weak and very low at the level.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I like to look at the bright side of things. So I'm going to congratulate the banks from Kenya that have gone into South Sudan in spite of the challenges. That's Pan-Africanism, and that's seeing the opportunity, and maybe we can encourage others. Perhaps there is need for stakeholders' engagement with private sector to be able to ensure we can encourage and give them the information they need and provide the de-risking and the guarantees to take them into spaces like South Sudan. I know that UNHCR is doing some very interesting things around piloting Kalobeye, which is an integrated settlement for refugees and host communities in Turkana, yes. And a lot is going on to drive the private sector to invest in Kalobeye. So there could be models we could take from that. Prime Minister Bainimarama, let me come back to you now. And when we talk about enhancing private sector partnerships, what has Fiji been doing and what has been working in your space?
Thank you. I concur with His Excellency the President's comment that private partnership is a must in these solutions that we're looking for. I know everyone knows that when the United States of America pulled out of the Paris Agreement, everyone was disappointed. But out of that, if you remember, a coalition was created, a coalition of non-state actors, NGOs, especially the private sector, put together by my friend Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that has moved forward in a very positive way to fight the climate change crisis that we have. But driving these solutions forward requires access to new financing mechanism, partnerships with the private sector, and access to relevant expertise and new technologies. And all-encompassing crisis can only be overcome if communities and institutions do their part. As His Excellency the President has said, governments certainly must lead and set the standard. They must do those things that only governments are equipped to do through laws, regulations, education policies and programs, but government action is not enough. Business, development partners, development organizations, communities, and civil society must take the initiative to push their governments. The world's financial institution, the public, private, and international institutions must work with governments to develop those financing mechanisms. But I think we should be clear. Let's be clear, in the face of worsening climate impacts, adaptation efforts alone won't save us. Without decisive cuts in carbon emissions, the present climate crisis will intensify into unchecked crisis. And this is what I've been saying all along. And everybody has, of course. Thank you.
Thank you for being a champion again. Let me come to you, Prime Minister Said. You took us through the challenges. How are you encouraging private sector to engage in your space? What are you doing?
هذا تحدي كبير في الأوضاع العادية، فما بالك في وقت الحرب. كنا نناقش هذا الوضع قبل بداية الحرب في اليمن في عام 2014، وكان النقاش حول التشريعات والقضاء. هي الدعامتين الأساسيتين لعمل القطاع الخاص وشراكته الحقيقية في تنمية أو تطبيق الأجندة الحضرية أو في التنمية والاقتصاد بشكل كامل. والهدف هنا ليس فقط نمو اقتصادي ولكن تنمية مستدامة. كيف يمكن لهذه التنمية أن توزع بشكل عادل أو يحس بها طبقات مختلفة من الشعب. التحدي المضاعف في وقت الحرب هي الضمانات. في أحد النقاشات منذ تولي رئاسة الحكومة منذ 6 أشهر كيف يمكن للقطاع الخاص أن يسهم في الطاقة الكهربائية مثلا أو محطات الطاقة العملاقة. مع انهيار بنى مؤسسات الطاقة في اليمن هنا جانب إيجابي أنه تحول استثمارات بسيطة فيما يتعلق بالطاقة النظيفة الآن في مضخات المياه في المدن، لكنها تفي بالغرض في مدن الجبلية الصغيرة التي لا تحتاج إلى طاقة كهربائية كبيرة، لكنها لا تستطيع بناء قدرات حقيقية للتوليد لأنشطة صناعية. فحسبنا تكاليف ما الذي استثمر في الطاقة النظيفة أو ما الذي اليمنيين قاموا بشرائه من ألواح الطاقة الشمسية، وهو رقم بمئات الملايين من الدولارات وتعدى $1 مليار. وهذا جانب إيجابي، لكن كان بالإمكان أن يكون هذا الاستثمار في شركات مساهمة لكن بقيادة من القطاع الخاص وليس من مؤسسات الدولة. هذا الموضوع سيتيح يعني مرونة أكبر لمحطات طاقة وكهربائية أفضل. الإشكالية تتعلق فيما يتعلق بالقطاع الخاص بالضمانات في وقت الحرب. كثير من كبار رجال الأعمال اليمنيين يتحدثوا أنه سنستثمر، لكن الإشكالية في الضمانات والبنوك. الإشكالية هنا أنه ميجا أو الوكالة التابعة للبنك الدولي فيما يتعلق بضمانات الاستثمار تعطي الضمانات للأجانب الذين يستثمرون في اليمن وليس للمستثمرين اليمنيين، وهذه مفارقة أنا أعتقد بحاجة إلى نظر حقيقي من المجتمع الدولي. رؤوس الأموال اليمنية كبيرة وهي تريد الاستثمار في ظرف الحرب في بلادها، لكن يبقى موضوع الضمانات هو الجانب الرئيسي. فهي مفارقة تحتاج أن احنا ننظر إليها، لأنه هذا الموضوع ينعكس على التكاليف. إذا كان بالإمكان الضمانات لمحطات طاقة عملاقة أن تنتج وتبيع للدولة في الظروف العادية ب7 سنت، في ظروف الحرب بسبب الضمانات قد ترتفع إلى 12 سنت على سبيل المثال، وهذه كلها تكاليف مضاعفة على اقتصاد نامي أو في مرحلة تعافي. فهذا المثال الذي يوضح التحديات في الجانب اليمني. في الجانب المتعلق بالإسكان، احتياجاتنا من الوحدات السكنية مئات الآلاف من الوحدات السكنية في عدد من المدن. نحن ننظر الآن إلى شراكة حقيقية مع القطاع الخاص فيما يتعلق بضمانات الأراضي أو قطاعات البنوك للبنى التحتية فيما يتعلق بجانب الإسكان، لكنها أقل تعقيدا من قطاعات أخرى مثل الطاقة التي نعول عليها بشكل كبير للقطاع الخاص لأن الطاقة الكهربائية هي أساس الحياة وأساس النمو للمدن. وتبقى عندنا نقطتين، أيهما يسبق، البنية التحتية أم الاستثمار؟ ونحن الآن لأن بنيتنا التحتية ضعيفة نركز على الاستثمار في البنى التحتية حتى تأتي الاستثمارات الصناعية. ولذلك المناطق الصناعية الآن نركز أنه خدمات الاستثمار فيها بما فيها بيع الطاقة تكون بالكامل للقطاع الخاص حتى لا نتأخر سنوات ونحن ننتظر أن يكون لدينا بنية تحتية مناسبة حتى تأتي الاستثمارات في مجالات معينة، لأن هذه الاستثمارات هي التي ستخلق فرص العمل وهي التي ستقود الاقتصادات داخل هذه المدن.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Just waiting for the translator to wind up. Maimuna, let me come to you now. And, you know, UN Habitat is working with a lot of private sector partners. We'd like to just understand and tap into what has worked really well. Microsoft, for instance, is engaging in a new way, and I think things are evolving. What for you is really effective right now?
Thank you very much, Julie. I'm very happy to listen to our 4 leaders up here that they are very good leadership and they have a vision and open up for the private sector to come and willing to give the enabling environment. And for UN Habitat, we have been working with the national government, regional government, local government, with stakeholders and also with private sectors in dealing with urban solution and urban to reduce or mitigate or even trying to solve urban challenges, as what been mentioned by our 4 leaders just now. But for example, when we work very closely with providing the infrastructure like public spaces, we work very close with Microsoft when we have the including input in terms of the technology and innovation using Minecraft to link to the youth and to the people, the young people, how they want to first foresee their cities and their urban spaces.
Is that Minecraft the game?
Yes,
so
it's a
for
game.
Those
It's a
who don't
computer
know,
game.
It is, yes, it's an online, it's a game.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
game, which young people are crazy about. Okay.
Yeah, and they use not only games like virtual games, but it's the real example, how they can design their own public spaces from their own needs. So I think these are a few cases already it's already implemented, and I think this is very, very important. And we also have the program together with private sectors on controlling for pollution, air pollutions, and how we can look into the degree of air pollution in that area. This is also one innovation that's sitting. And talking about a crisis in the urban areas, we work very closely with the private sectors and looking at the giving the normative part of our work, not only on operational but on normative work part of our work, giving the guidelines and the tools, and we also recently completed and approved by the our Secretary General guidance on the urban crisis. And as you mentioned clearly that we work together with UNHCR in Colabie and Turkana, and how we integrate refugee together with the host, and we on UN Habitat working together with our UNHCR and also our UNDP, giving the planning and design for the resettlement areas, and in a way that this is our niche. We are implementing. I think that example is one UN, as what is been putting up by our Secretary General reform. And other than that, I'm also very important to say that the spatial planning by our Prime Minister from Yemen, talking about spatial planning and urban services. And for UN Habitat, we has the convener. Convener we can link to vertically to the governments and also to the local government and also to the people. And we can become the advocates. And we also can be a convener to prepare the concept, also the bankable project, and working together with our private sectors such as banks and also the World Bank and other private sectors. This is our part that we can collaborate and partners with all the member states and the 4 leaders up here that we already mentioned about their challenges. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Those roles are absolutely critical because somebody needs to help us bring the ecosystem together. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we have. I keep telling my youngest son to stop playing Minecraft. I didn't realize perhaps it's helping him build his planning skills. So maybe I should stop harassing him. I'll come to you now, Madam President, and your thoughts very quickly on the issue of private sector and how better to engage. Maybe from hearing from the presidents, what's top of mind for you?
Thank you. I would like to comment on an opportunity for private sector right now on cities is that exponential technologies are placing the private sector in a very good position, in a privileged one, in order to provide cheap and efficient services for society. And innovation is about how to use these exponential technologies and providing good services for people. But there are 3 things that we have to be aware of the participation of private sector in the urban development, which are first to avoid the bad environmental, social externalities or and socializing sometimes the effects of, for example, pollution or some services that are not well provided. The authorities are placed also for that, for controlling that bad externalities that we have to take and to assess. And the second thing that I think that is important to mention is that sometimes private sector is banned because in a lot of countries we have a lot of corruption and lack of transparency. So we have to put this matter of avoiding corruption and make good bids and good offers and transparent, accountable offers for private sector to participate on social and community development in a way that it is legal and it is given good services, but also in legally and controlled by the government.
Thank you so much for that. So we're coming to the close of the panel session, and just in less than 1 minute, I'd like each of our panelists to renew your political commitment here in front of this gathering and millions of others who are joining us on social media around the world. Renew your political commitment, tell us your thoughts, but also maybe issue a call to action to the partners that you are most keen to engage with, to work with, the ones you really want at the table seated with you. President Kenyatta, I'll come to you last because you are the host country. So President Kiir, perhaps I will begin with you. What is your political commitment on the issue of our cities, sustainable cities, ensuring that people are safe, ensuring that they are inclusive, and who would you like to really speak to and challenge to be part of the journey moving forward?
Well, we are committed to this program because it is something to do with the people. And the government of South Sudan is highly committed, and it is in this respect that the government of South Sudan commits herself to clear whatever voluntary, non-earmarked arrears, and has now committed herself to earmark a contribution of $40,000 for this project. And so the commitment of the government of South Sudan to this UN Habitat program is great, and we are going to work seriously to make sure that the achievements are seen by the end of the day. So,
thank you.
I have to give you my assurances that we are committed to this.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you for that. Let me come now to Prime Minister of Fiji, Bainimarama, please, your political commitment and maybe your call to action.
Thank you, Julie. As I mentioned earlier on, Fiji is one of the first 2 countries in the world, besides Marshall Islands, to take concrete steps on the path of raising the ambition of nationally determined contributions, the NDCs. Obviously, Fiji is not as I said, Fiji is not a major carbon emitter, but we want to show the world that we can do it, so can other nations, especially the bigger, the larger economies. The struggle to secure food and water could potentially drive nations head-on into war. Vast numbers of climate-displaced peoples would require refuge, adding immense complexity and urgency to the issues highlighted at this assembly. And as I speak to you now, that is the future we are headed for based on our collective commitment under the Paris Agreement. A nightmare scenario, Julie, of 3 degrees of warming. So I'm here in Nairobi sounding the alarm to urge for more decisive action. By the time we gather at the UN Secretary General Summit in September, the majority of the world's countries must come with realistic and concrete plans for 3 things. For their next round of more robust and aggressive NDCs, for having emissions by 2030, and for reaching net zero emissions by 2050. Fiji is already revising our own commitments in line with those aspirations, and we ask the rest of the world to follow. And when you come to, of course, when you come to New York, we want to limit the people that come there, not with rhetorics, but those that have done something.
Come with action.
Come with action. Thank you.
Thank you for sounding the alarm, and please don't stop. Please don't stop.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Said. Thank you.
توجهات الوطنية الآن في اليمن، وهو التزام منا في الحكومة بذلك، على أن يكون جميع الخطط التي تبنى تحرص على الحفاظ على الانبعاثات، لأن اليمن من أقل الدول التي تؤثر في ذلك. معظم المحطات التي ستبنى الآن نخطط أن تكون كثير منها بالمصادر الطاقة المتجددة. لدينا في اليمن إرث حضاري، وهو إرث حضاري جزء من الإرث الحضاري العالمي ينبغي الحفاظ عليه. ندعم التمدن السريع، لكن بما لا يخل بالهوية الحقيقية لطبيعة هذه المدن. المدن هذه لها هويات، لها طابع، ليست كل المدن متشابهة. الآن ونحن في ظروف الحرب خصصنا جزء من وهذه توجيهات من فخامة الرئيس، ونحرص على تطبيقها في الحكومة. 20% من عائدات مبيعات النفط أو الغاز تذهب للتنمية المحلية، وكانت دائما تذهب في مشاريع لا تستفيد منها المجتمعات المحلية. الآن هناك أجندة حقيقية لدى عدد من الولايات والأقاليم لتحديث مخططاتها الحضرية لتكون مواكبة للأجندة الحضرية. في ظل الوضع الصعب التي تعيشه اليمن لم ننتظر إلى المجتمع الدولي بشكل كبير، لكن بدأنا بإمكانياتنا البسيطة. عندما استعدنا طاقة الإنتاج البسيطة للمنتجات الهيدروكربون أو البترول أو الغاز، فإن احنا نخصص جزء من هذا العائد ويقدر ب20% للتنمية المحلية مع السلطات المحلية، وكان الجزء الكبير منها تطوير الأجندة الحضرية، تطوير السياسات الحضرية في هذه المدن. وهذا ما سينعكس خلال سنوات على مجتمعات ومدن مختلفة في اليمن. فرغم الحرب إلا أنه هناك دائما فرصة لكي نبني بشكل صحيح، وهذا هو التحدي الحقيقي في اليمن، والذي قد يكون تجربة ملهمة لعدد من الدول التي تخرج من الصراعات.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Maimuna, let me come to you next. What's your commitment as a key implementing partner? As somebody who has said you're going to take on multiple roles to make the reality, to bring the vision to reality for our cities. What's your commitment, and maybe what's your call as well?
Thank you very much, Juliet. UN Habitat is known as the global leaders on urbanization and human settlement. We put forward our strategic plan for 2020 to 2025 before the Habitat Assembly for approval. We committed to implement the 4 pillars and the 12 outcomes. And we are here to serve the member state. We are here to work together with the private sector. We are here to work together with all levels of government. We are the United Nations International Civil Servant, and we are here to be committed to work together with all the member states and the excellencies to make our vision and together to provide a better quality of life for people, of course, for all in the urbanizing world. And again, I would like to say thank you to all the member states and the excellencies and the leaders who are committed. I'm very, very happy to hear the commitment. And now I think let's work and less talk and more action. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. Madam President, your commitment, your call to action.
Thank you very much. Last word is just to encourage everybody to support multilateral institutions. We are in a very difficult situation right now with multilateralism, and we are not going to thrive without cooperation. So cooperation is about getting together all the member states and cities and reaching out how to solve problems in a collective intelligence way. So multilateral institutions as UN Habitat and UN Environment and the other institutions of the agencies of the UN are ready to work with states in order to succeed, and this is a call for the states to support multilateral institutions.
Thank you very much for that. And President Uhuru Kenyatta has the final word.
Thank you very much, Julie. I think first is to renew our commitment, as our brother from Fiji has said, to the issue of our climate change agenda, which is essential for us to be able to have a planet that we can actually all live on. So Kenya renews her commitment to the climate change agenda, and we will continue to pursue, together with our colleagues around the globe, to ensure that we have the right environment for our people to live in. I think the second is a new, renewed commitment to our private sector partners, who we have said are essential for us to be able to achieve our objective. And we want to create an environment where you can thrive, where you can invest in an open, transparent Kenyan society, because those are critical ingredients for the partners who we seek in the private sector. I think the third is, once again, as Madam President, you have said, to renew once again our commitment to multilateralism and to multilateral institutions such as UN Habitat. And as we participated, first and foremost, as host country with UN Habitat to co-host this with a contribution of $500,000, we have also as our commitment to UN Habitat increased our earmark contributions from $70,000 to $100,000, and non-earmarked, we have made a pledge of an additional $100,000, and mine is to really call on all our partners, on all nations, to recognize the importance of the urbanization agenda, to recognize the importance of being able to have sustainable communities for our children and for our children's children, and for us to recognize that we cannot do this alone. We need each other, and we must work together. Let us work in solidarity to achieve these noble goals that we all agreed to under the SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've been blessed to have an incredibly diverse panel in terms of experiences and realities on the ground. We've learned a lot. Sometimes the challenges seem immense, but let me use the words of the late Nelson Mandela, who said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." Until it is done. That's the quote. Thank you very much. Before we close, can I just say to our panelists, right here, oh, thank you, President Kiir, I'm dropping everything. Right here on the side of the stage, we have some graffiti. And this work has been done by some young people who are part of the activities of UN Habitat. And they're all girls, I believe. Ladies, where are you? Could you wave? Please stand up and wave. And perhaps you'll get an opportunity to come forward and just greet the presidents, because we're going to ask each of the presidents to come forward and sign this graffiti and take a picture together there in front of the graffiti. Young people, of course, are a key part of our change agenda. President Salva Kiir, can I ask you to come down, please, and sign? Thank you very much, sir. And you will be followed by President Uhuru Kenyatta, Prime Minister as well, Said, thank you, and Bainimarama as well. Thank you. If we would come down, and they have marker pens for you. And the fact that this was done by girls is not to say we don't do things with boys, right? We have boys' activities as well. Very good. And now President Salva Kiir is just about to sign. He is signing the graffiti work. Can we give him a round of applause as he puts his signature on this piece of work? And next, President Uhuru Kenyatta moves forward. And he's going to sign on a cloud. There we go. He is signing. Thank you very much. Next. Oh, thank you. Prime Minister Bainimarama of Fiji goes forward, signing also on a cloud. Wonderful. And he says, God bless. Thank you. A message of blessing there. And Prime Minister Said of Yemen signing on a cloud as well. There we go. Thank you very, very much. A warm round of applause. And can we take a picture, please? If we could all position ourselves, I will ask the Executive Director to join them and the President of the Assembly as well to join them for a picture. With the graffiti artists as well. Wonderful. That's beautiful. And I love to do this. It's the way I celebrate. It's the way we celebrate in Africa. Our moment. That's what it is. A big round of applause. Thank you very much.
So much. We've come to the closure of our program. Our request all of us will be upstanding as Their Excellencies the President and Their Excellency the Prime Ministers take their leave. May you all be upstanding and calm as you give them room and space for them to leave. We are the one. Thank you so much, Your Excellencies the Presidents and Your Excellency the Prime Ministers. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation for attending the high-level segment of the first session of United Nations Habitat Assembly. Let's appreciate their excellencies as they take their leave, ladies and gentlemen. Asante sana.
So let's start giving. And there's a choice. And there's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. Just you and me. We are the world. We are the world. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a better day. So let's start giving. And there's a choice. There's a choice we're making. And there's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. We're saving our own lives. Just you and me. Just you and me. Just you and me. Just you and me. Just you and me.
Thank you, Julie.